Here's something I think most people intuitively understand. A cheap first date is not a reliable indicator of a great relationship. The cost of the first date tells you almost nothing about what follows. And yet, when it comes to customer acquisition, most brands treat a low CAC, a low customer acquisition cost, as if it were evidence of a healthy future relationship. Let's be clear, it's not. It's evidence that you acquired someone cheaply. Welcome back. I'm Alex Orley, and this is Hard Margins, your weekly e-commerce brief brought to you by RetentionX. RetentionX closes the loop from identity to insight to agentic execution, helping commerce brands understand customer value, identify growth opportunities, and execute against those opportunities through intelligent workflows and agents. This week is all about customer acquisition cost, specifically why optimizing it in isolation is one of the most reliable ways to make a business look more efficient while actually making it worse, and what the right metric is instead. Most brands treat customer acquisition cost like a report card. Lower is better, more or less unconditionally. But customer acquisition cost is an input cost, not a performance metric. It tells you what you paid to initiate a relationship, not whether that relationship was worth initiating. That judgment only comes from what follows, whether the customer repeats, how quickly they pay back the acquisition cost, and whether the margin compounds over time. Optimizing customer acquisition cost without those downstream constraints doesn't improve the business. It shifts the loss to a place where it's harder to follow. So if you're wondering how this plays out in practice, imagine that marketing is under pressure to bring down their customer acquisition cost. So they do what usually gets done in this situation. Broader audiences with cheaper entry products, heavier promotions, and the outcome of that is that customer acquisition cost does in fact come down. Then finance likely asks the question that actually matters in this scenario. Did the payback improve? In most cases, it doesn't. What changes isn't efficiency, it's customer quality. The cheaper cohort has a lower second order rate, higher returns, and a payback window that stretches rather than compresses. The business gets better at acquiring customers it can't profitably keep. You can lower customer acquisition cost and make the business worse simultaneously, and it'll look like progress on a marketing dashboard for months before it shows up anywhere else. Customer acquisition cost, like ROAS, is a start cost. The metric that actually prices growth is payback, the number of days until cumulative net contribution margin, after discounts, returns, shipping, and COGS. I've said it here a million times, probably worth saying one more time. Net contribution margin after discounts, returns, shipping, and COGS covers what it costs to acquire the customer. So consider two scenarios. A $92 customer acquisition cost that pays back in 58 days versus a $58 customer acquisition cost that pays back in 110. The first is a fast, clean investment. The second, a slow, uncertain one, likely death by a million cuts. The number that looks better on the marketing report is the much worse business outcome. That inversion is exactly why customer acquisition cost in isolation is such a misleading signal. This changes the instruction, not customer acquisition cost down, payback period down, and cohort quality up. Those are different objectives, and they produce different decisions about which channels to scale, which entry products to lead with, and how to structure the welcome experience. So if customer acquisition cost is the wrong primary metric and payback is the right one, the next logical question is what actually determines whether payback compresses or expands post-acquisition? And the answer is LTV. In the context of value creation, I think it's worth a quick unpacking of where LTV is actually created or inversely destroyed, because this tends to happen in three places in a customer lifecycle, and it's important to understand where and why. The first is somewhat obvious, it's onboarding. If customers don't understand how to use the product or what good results look like, they churn before the relationship has a chance to develop. Onboarding here in this context is not brand storytelling, it's uncertainty reduction. Think every improvement in second order rate compresses payback, which makes better onboarding one of the most cost-effective ways to justify a higher customer acquisition cost. The next is product experience. Returns and refunds are a signal that the product didn't match the expectations set during the customer acquisition. Cheap acquisition that overpromises creates expensive post-purchase behavior. The cost shows up later and in a different report, which is part of why it stays invisible for so long. And third, you have retention sequencing. A static, calendar-based retention flow treats every customer the same, regardless of where they are in their relationship to your products and your brand. A retention engine timed to replenishment windows and next best offer logic treats each customer as a relationship at a specific stage. So here's how to take all of this and put it into action. First, replace your customer acquisition cost target with a payback target. Every channel and campaign runs against that payback target. The rough benchmarks, regardless of your industry or category, 60 days or under is healthy. 60 to 90 is a watch signal, and anything over 90 is a cash risk. Customer acquisition cost alone doesn't price growth. Payback does. Next, you're going to track cohort quality alongside your customer acquisition cost. For each acquisition cohort, look at net contribution margin, payback in days, 60-day second order rate, and 30-day return rate. If any of these move in the wrong direction when customer acquisition cost improves, the efficiency gain is an illusion. That's the check that keeps the marketing dashboard honest, and I can't stress this one enough. It's the most important. Next, you're going to stop letting the cheapest SKU lead your acquisition strategy. The product that converts most easily is not always the product that creates the best customer. Acquisition should lead with products that generate repeat behavior, not just first order volume. Lastly, you're going to build a second purchase engine rather than a discount calendar. The goal of retention is not to push offers on a schedule or cadence. It's to put the right product in front of the customer at the moment that they're actually ready for it. That timing is what turns a single transaction into a relationship that was worth the customer acquisition cost you paid to start it. Customer acquisition cost is the invitation. Lifetime value is everything that follows. The brands that scale well aren't the ones with the lowest customer acquisition cost. They're the ones who understand that the invitation is only worth what comes after it. These businesses build their acquisition strategy around that reality. Thanks for listening. I'm Alex Orley. This has been Hard Margins, your weekly e-commerce brief brought to you by Retention X. I will see you right here next week.